Verses 1-2, At that time Jesus went through the grain fields on the Sabbath. His disciples were hungry and began to pick some heads of grain and eat them. When the Pharisees saw this, they said to him, Look, your disciples are doing what is unlawful on the Sabbath. Explanation: The Pharisees were upset because they believed that picking grain on the Sabbath, a day of rest, violated the law. The Sabbath was meant for rest, but the Pharisees had developed strict rules about what could and couldn't be done. Verses 3-4, He answered, Haven't you read what David did when he and his companions were hungry? He entered the house of God, and he and his companions ate the consecrated bread, which was not lawful for them to do, but only for the priests. Explanation: Jesus refers to the story of King David when he ate the sacred showbread that was reserved for the priests because he and his men were hungry. Jesus uses this example to show that human need can take precedence over ceremonial law. Verses 5-6, Or haven't you read in the law that the priests on the Sabbath desecrate the day and yet are innocent? I tell you that something greater than the temple is here. Explanation: Jesus points out that even the priests work on the Sabbath, offering sacrifices in the temple, yet they are considered innocent. He says that something greater than the temple, Jesus himself, is now present, which challenges the Pharisees' rigid interpretation of the law. Verse 7, If you had known what these words mean, I desire mercy, not sacrifice, you would not have condemned the innocent. Explanation: Jesus quotes Hosea 6:6, emphasizing that God values mercy over ritual sacrifice. The Pharisees had missed this point and were too focused on outward actions instead of inward heart transformation. Verse 8, For the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath. Explanation: Jesus asserts his authority over the Sabbath, revealing that he is the Lord of the Sabbath. He is the fulfillment of what the Sabbath pointed to, a rest found in him. Verses 9-10, Going on from that place, he went into their synagogue, and a man with a shriveled hand was there. Looking for a reason to accuse Jesus, they asked him, Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath? Explanation: Jesus enters the synagogue where a man with a shriveled hand is present. The Pharisees tried to trap him by asking if healing on the Sabbath is lawful, knowing that healing could be seen as work. 7 Verse 11-12, He said to them, If any of you has a sheep and it falls into a pit on the Sabbath, will you not take hold of it and lift it out? How much more valuable is a person than a sheep? Therefore, it is lawful to do good on the Sabbath. Explanation: Jesus uses a simple illustration. If people would rescue their sheep on the Sabbath, then it is much more reasonable to heal a person, showing that mercy and doing good are in line with God's will, even on the Sabbath. Verse 13, Then he said to the man, Stretch out your hand. So he stretched it out, and it was completely restored, just as sound as the other. Explanation: Jesus heals the man's hand, demonstrating his authority to heal and his compassion for people, regardless of the day. Verse 14, But the Pharisees went out and plotted how they might kill Jesus. Explanation: Instead of being amazed or moved by the miracle, the Pharisees become hostile and begin plotting to kill Jesus. This shows their hard hearts and refusal to accept Jesus' authority. Verses 15-16, Aware of this, Jesus withdrew from that place. Many followed him, and he healed all their sick, warning them not to tell others about him. Explanation: Jesus avoids confrontation, but he continues to heal the sick, showing his compassion and fulfilling his mission of mercy. He also tells people not to spread word of his miracles prematurely. Verses 17-21, This was to fulfill what was spoken through the prophet Isaiah. Here is my servant whom I have chosen, the one I love, in whom I delight. I will put my spirit on him, and he will proclaim justice to the nations. He will not quarrel or cry out. No one will hear his voice in the streets. A bruised reed he will not break, and a smoldering wick he will not snuff out, till he has brought justice through to victory. In his name the nations will put their hope. Explanation: Jesus' actions fulfill the prophecy from Isaiah 42:1-4. He is the chosen servant, who will bring justice gently and humbly, without aggression or loud proclamations. This speaks to the nature of his ministry, which focuses on healing, peace, and justice rather than forceful political change. Verse 22, Then they brought him a demon-possessed man who was blind and mute, and Jesus healed him, so that he could both talk and see. Explanation: Jesus demonstrates his power over evil spirits by healing a man who was both blind and mute due to demon possession. Verse 23, All the people were astonished and said, "Could this be the son of David?" Explanation: the people begin to wonder if Jesus is the Messiah, the son of David, indicating that his miracles are causing many to consider his true identity. Verses 24 to 28. But when the Pharisees heard this, they said, "It is only by Beelzebul, the prince of demons, that this fellow drives out demons." Jesus knew their thoughts and said to them, "Every kingdom divided against itself will be ruined, and every city or household divided against itself will not stand. If Satan drives out Satan, he is divided against himself. How then can his kingdom stand?" Explanation: the Pharisees accused Jesus of casting out demons by the power of Beelzebul, Satan, but Jesus logically rebukes them. He shows that Satan would not work against himself, and the fact that he is casting out demons proves that his power comes from God, not Satan. Verses 29 to 30. Or again, how can anyone enter a strong man's house and carry off his possessions unless he first ties up the strong man? Then he can plunder his house. Whoever is not with me is against me, and whoever does not gather with me scatters. Explanation: Jesus describes his power over Satan as binding the strong man Satan, and shows that those who oppose him are against God's kingdom. Verses 31 to 32. And so I tell you, every kind of sin and slander can be forgiven, but blasphemy against the Spirit will not be forgiven. Anyone who speaks a word against the Son of Man will be forgiven, but anyone who speaks against the Holy Spirit will not be forgiven, either in this age or in the age to come. Explanation: Jesus warns that blasphemy against the Holy Spirit attributing his work to Satan is unforgivable. This is a serious warning against rejecting the work of the Holy Spirit, which brings conviction and salvation. Verses 33 to 37. Make a tree good and its fruit will be good, or make a tree bad and its fruit will be bad, for a tree is recognized by its fruit. You brood of vipers, how can you who are evil say anything good? For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. Explanation: Jesus teaches that a person's actions fruit reveal the true condition of their heart. Good fruit comes from a good heart, and bad fruit comes from an evil heart. He warns the Pharisees and others that their words and actions reveal their true nature. Verses 38 to 42. Then some of the Pharisees and teachers of the law said to him, "Teacher, we want to see a sign from you." He answered, "A wicked and adulterous generation asks for a sign, but none will be given it except the sign of the prophet Jonah." Explanation: the Pharisees demand a miraculous sign to prove Jesus' authority, but Jesus says the only sign they will receive is the sign of Jonah, referring to his own death, burial, and resurrection, as Jonah was in the belly of the fish for 3 days. Jesus will be in the grave for 3 days. Verses 43 to 45. When an impure spirit comes out of a person, it goes through arid places seeking rest and does not find it. Then it says, "I will return to the house I left." Explanation: Jesus warns that when a person is cleansed from evil, they must be filled with good, the Holy Spirit, or the evil spirit will return and bring more evil. This emphasizes the need for ongoing spiritual renewal and vigilance. Verses 46 to 50. While Jesus was still talking to the crowd, his mother and brothers stood outside, wanting to speak to him. Someone told him, "Your mother and brothers are standing outside, wanting to speak to you." Explanation: Jesus redefines his true family, saying that those who do the will of his Father in heaven are his family. This highlights the importance of spiritual relationships over biological ones. Now let me tell you guys how we can use these verses in our daily life. Matthew 11 offers valuable lessons that we can apply in our daily lives. When we experience doubt or uncertainty, like John the Baptist, we can take our questions to Jesus, trusting he will guide us with understanding. We are reminded to stay faithful to God's calling, even if others misunderstand or criticize us. As Jesus invites us to find rest in him, we can turn to him when we feel overwhelmed, exchanging our burdens for his peace. His example of humility and compassion teaches us to approach others with gentleness and patience, offering mercy where it's needed. Finally, Jesus calls us to live with a childlike trust in God, respond to his grace, and choose peace over conflict in all situations.